my name is Lisa Moyer. For those of you that don't know me, I own the Blue Pig Ice Cream right here in Croton. Yay. And a lot of my staff is here, which is really supportive and amazing. I've lived in Croton for 28 years and have been working on environmental issues in the town and counties and state for about 30 years. So I'm so happy to see you all here. There's a lot of work to be done. So I'm glad we're all gathering together to hear about and just so you know, I am going to do that, and I encourage speakers to do that too. It can get busy, to just kind of give it a moment for when the trucks go by. We're gathering together because Greta Thunberg and her group Fridays for the Future, for those of you that don't know, have been youth that have been striking outside their schools for many years and calling attention to the adults to not just listen to the students, but to take action on climate. She sat outside her school every Friday, I think she said for 2 years, to get the attention of anyone who would listen. What is it?
She sat outside the town hall.
She sat outside the town hall. Her group was instrumental in doing the last climate strike in New York City, and we're in solidarity today because she and her group will be addressing the United Nations. If you've all known that they've had a meeting going on this week, President Biden has been there, and the leaders all over the world are talking about many issues, climate being one of the most important. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce some of our first speakers. We have youth speakers, we have some amazing singers, we have some people talking about science. You'll hear about the IPCC. That acronym is the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. You hear that a lot. They give reports every certain amount of years. The last one came out a week or two ago, and it's been all over the news, and we have someone talking about it. So first up today, we were going to have Avery Rigsley from 8th grade at the PVC Middle School. She was unable to make it. So stepping in on literally one night's notice is my two amazing staff, Rose Shupek-Diaz and her friend Maddie Nikich, if we can give them a hand. And they're both seniors at Croton High School and amazing workers at the Blue Pig.
Hi, I'm Rose Shupek-Diaz.
And I'm Maddie Nikich, like Lisa said. We're both seniors up at the high school.
Today we wanted to kick off our event with something a little bit unorthodox, a children's story. Today we'll be reading The Giving Tree by Shel Silverstein.
So the reason that we wanted to read a little bit of this book to you is because we both have very fond memories of reading it as kids and felt that it has kind of a timeless message that people need to be reminded of.
The Giving Tree is about a boy's evolving friendship with a tree. Initially, he appreciates and loves her for all that she is and can do. He climbs her trunk and swings from her branches and eats her apples and plays in her shade.
But years go by and he loses interest in her and takes her incredible qualities for granted and ends up only visiting her when he needs something.
As we read, I encourage you to think about how you benefit from the nature around us. How do you harm Mother Earth? How can you help her instead? Lastly, is harming her for your own benefit really worth it in the end?
Then one day the boy came to the tree, and the tree said, "Come boy, come climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and eat apples and play in my shade and be happy."
"I am too big to climb and play," said the boy. "I want to buy things and have fun. I want some money. Can you give me some money?"
"I'm sorry," said the tree, "but I have no money. I have only leaves and apples. Take my apples, boy, and sell them in the city. Then you'll have money and you'll be happy."
And so the boy climbed up the tree and gathered her apples and carried them away.
And the tree was happy.
But the boy stayed away for a long time, and the tree was sad. And then one day, the boy came back and the tree shook with joy, and she said,
"Come, boy, come climb up my trunk and swing from my branches and be happy."
"I am too busy to climb trees," said the boy. "I want a house to keep me warm," he said. "I want a wife and I want children, and so I need a house. Can you give me a house?"
I have no house, said the tree. The forest is my house, but you may cut off my branches and build a house, and then you will be happy.
And so the boy cut off her branches and carried them away to build his house.
And the tree was happy.
But the boy stayed away for a long time, and when he came back, the tree was so happy she could hardly speak.
"Come, boy," she whispered, "come and play."
"I'm too old and sad to play," said the boy. "I want a boat that will take me far away from here. Can you give me a boat?"
"Cut down my trunk and make a boat," said the tree. "Then you can sail away and be happy."
And so the boy cut down her trunk and made a boat and sailed away.
And the tree was happy, but not really.
And after a long time, the boy came back again.
"I'm sorry, boy," said the tree, "but I have nothing left to give you. My apples are gone."
"My teeth are too weak for apples," said the boy.
"My branches are gone," said the tree. "You cannot swing on them."
"I am too old to swing on branches," said the boy.
"My trunk is gone," said the tree. "You cannot climb."
"I am too tired to climb," said the boy.
"I'm sorry," sighed the tree. "I wish that I could give you something, but I have nothing left. I'm just an old stump. I'm sorry."
"I don't need very much now," said the boy. "Just a quiet place to sit and rest. I am very tired."
"Well," said the tree, straightening herself up as much as she could, "well, an old stump is good for sitting and resting. Come, boy, sit down. Sit down and rest."
And the boy did.
And the tree was happy.
The end.
Our next speaker is going to be Sean Dew. For those of you that don't know him, he's the co-founder of Croton-on-Hudson, a 28-year resident of Croton, and 28 years as a fellow at IBM. He ran a worldwide smarter energy and environmental science team at IBM. And presently, he's the president of and CEO of Utopus Insights, a global renewable energy company based in Valhalla. He's a treasure to have here in Croton. He leads one of the leading environmental groups we have going on here. So Sean Dew is going to speak about the latest science and how it's impacting us. Thank you so much.
Good morning, Croton. Putting together an event like this is a lot of work, so let's make some noise for all the organizers, Lisa, Donna, and team. Ladies and gentlemen, I am here to sound an alarm. The climate alarm bells of this planet are jingling and jangling at a feverish pace. The United Nations. Go away, fossil fuel, go away. The United Nations just a month ago released a major climate report. It's 4,000 pages long. It consulted 14,000 studies. It achieved consensus amongst the scientists of 195 countries. The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said, "There is no room for excuses and no time for delay. This report is a code red for humanity." If you go around and see people wearing a red t-shirt that says code red for humanity, please talk to them and get involved. The UN Secretary General also said, "We are on the edge of an abyss and moving in the wrong direction." So let me summarize some of the key findings of this UN report for all of you. And I'd like you to help me out by shouting out code red for humanity anytime you feel like it. Let's give it a try. Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that global warming is undoubtedly, unequivocally human-caused by activities like burning fossil fuels. What do we say to that? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that certain climate effects are already locked in. 1.5 degrees centigrade of warming is already locked in. An ice-free Arctic summer before the year 2050 is already locked in. What do we say to that? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that 7 feet of sea level rise is already locked in, and that with a mere 2 degrees of warming, we could have as much as 20 feet of sea level rise, which would displace hundreds of millions of human beings. And whether we like it or not, sea level rise will continue for multiple centuries. What do we say, folks? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that unless we pursue rapid, far-reaching, and unprecedented actions to decarbonize our lives, our societies, and our economies, we will face a hellscape planet with at least 2.7 degrees of warming and all the attendant horrors. What do we say to that? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that the oceans are changing in profound ways. Acidification, deoxygenation, warming, melting of ice, stratification. And this doesn't just kill marine life, it causes extreme weather events on land with a ferocity and a frequency that is frightening. A ferocity and a frequency that is frightening. What do we say to that, folks? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that in the 50 years of life ahead for all of us, a perilous extreme weather event like an extreme heat wave that would occur once in 50 years will now instead occur 39 times in the next 50 years. What do we say to that, folks? Code red for humanity. The scientists tell us that we have just experienced the hottest decade in 125,000 years, the thinnest ice at the Arctic in over 1,000 years, and the most carbon in the atmosphere in 2 million years. What do we say to that, folks? Code red for humanity. Folks, this is a planetary emergency. We must unite behind the science, and we must take action. Luckily for us, we live here in Croton, an enlightened place where we have already begun to take climate action. And I just want you to be aware of some of the activities that are going on right here in Croton. Perhaps you are aware, but the default choice of electricity in Croton is 100% clean, renewable energy, right here in Croton. Perhaps, that's right. Perhaps you're aware, but we inaugurated a community solar project just up the street here that provides 100% clean electricity to about 50 homes right here in Croton. Tomorrow at Senasqua Park at 4 p.m. we have an electric vehicle show sponsored by Croton-on-Hudson. Come and learn all about electric vehicles right here in Croton. Ladies and gentlemen, we are standing at a sustainable ice cream shop right here in Croton. Due to your overwhelming votes, the school is in the process of purchasing its first electric bus right here in Croton. And folks, we have mothers out front. We have Croton 100. We have Caring for Creation. We have Fridays for Future. We have a sustainability committee. We have a conservation advisory council, all looking out for the environment right here in Croton. Let's get serious. We have just 6 years of carbon budget left. 6 years of carbon budget left. And if we don't change our ways, I don't have decent language to describe our condition, so I won't try. I would like all of you to do a thought experiment with me. I want you to imagine something in your mind's eye. Close your eyes for a moment. Trust me, just close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, can you imagine a Croton in which every vehicle is an electric vehicle? If you can, show your cheers. Can you imagine a Croton in which every drop of electricity we use is 100% clean solar, wind, community solar, community choice aggregation? Can we do that? Can you imagine a future in Croton in which every building is heated by an electric heat pump instead of fossil fuels? Can you imagine a Croton in which we minimize waste, maximize recycling, and participate in a circular economy? And can you imagine a Croton in which we have the will to work together to achieve everything I pointed out before the year 2030? Can we do it, folks? This is what the scientists tell us we need to achieve. We need to cut our emissions in half by the year 2030 to stave off the worst effects of climate change. Please help and support Croton-on-Hudson and all the other wonderful organizations that we have locally. Do something in your life, influence somebody, meet us, join us, let's get after it. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Shandu. And he really sums it up well. He's a gem, and Croton-on-Hudson, and like he said, the other organizations are waiting for your involvement. Our next speaker is going to be Shoshana Daly. She's also a senior in high school at Croton-on-Hudson High School. Come on up, Shoshana.
There is too much fear surrounding climate change. Fear is not a motivator. Fear paralyzes people, stops them dead in their tracks because they feel too small to make a difference. What we need is hope, not fear. Today, I'm not going to tout scary statistics because I'm sure everyone has heard them 100 times at this point. Instead, I'm going to talk about the things that we can do and the lives we can save. Today, I'm here to tell you what we can do. Let me rephrase that, what we must do to keep warming below 1.5 degrees. The slogan of today's global strike is uproot the system. It's important to remember that the climate crisis does not exist in a vacuum. It is interwoven with other socioeconomic issues like racism and class inequality. Today, millions of youth have come to the streets to demand a future where no one is left behind. Our town is made of many privileged individuals, and with that privilege comes responsibility. We have the responsibility to lead the battle against climate change and protect MAPA, which if you're not familiar with, means the most affected people and areas. At a rally I attended not even 2 weeks ago, Senator Schumer explained many aspects of the budget reconciliation bill that is now in the Senate. Since many people are unaware of the contents of this bill, I will attempt to give a quick overview. He talked about 100% clean energy by 2035, deep tax breaks for wind and solar, the removal of all subsidies for oil, gas, and coal. He talked about having every car on the road running on clean energy by 2040. He also talked about a $30 billion climate civilian corps, which would provide good-paying union jobs to poor people and people of color across the country. And finally, he's fighting for $80 billion to redo public housing in a climate green resilient way. But all the things that I just described may never happen if this bill doesn't pass. In order for the bill to to pass the Senate, every single Democrat needs to vote yes. And as of right now, there are 2 senators that threaten to ruin everything. Senator Manchin of West Virginia and Senator Sinema of Arizona. I need everyone, when you get home tonight, to look up Manchin and Sinema's phone numbers or take a picture of the poster over here later and call them and show them that voting no is not an option. Make sure that they know that millions of lives are quite literally on the line. Remember those names, Manchin and Sinema. Their decisions hold vast consequences, and we have the power to change their minds. But don't stop there. Call up every senator and pressure them to keep every aspect of the bill. We want the removal of all oil, gas, and coal subsidies. We want 100% electricity to be clean. We want every car on the road to run on clean energy. Call senators and make your voice heard. But to clarify, there are 2 bills. There's the budget reconciliation bill, and there is the infrastructure bill, and we need both of them to pass. But Build Back Better is not the only way we can take action. This November, climate will be on the ballot. If passed, Proposal 2 on the New York State ballot will add an amendment to the New York Constitution establishing the right of every person to clean air and water and a healthful environment. It would give a basis for lawsuits on the purpose of climate change. Every person here should download Climate Action Now. Climate Action Now is an app that gives you small tasks every day to combat climate change. For example, it might tell you to call your representative or senator and press them to vote for a specific act. Or it may tell you to email members of a committee in Congress as they mark up a bill. With all the daunting statistics and scary news going around, it's so easy to get paralyzed by fear. But we must remember that there is hope, but we must act now. There are things that we can do to make both federal and state level change that could turn the tide of this war. We cannot wait any longer. We must act now and preserve our future and the future for generations to come. And I'm going to say, what do we want? And there's climate justice. When do we want it? Now. What do we want?
Climate justice.
When do we want it?
Now.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shoshana. That was amazing. And I'm just going to say for some people in the back, feel free. We have a lot of room up here if you just want to come in and get a little closer. We're about halfway through our program. Our next speaker is also a senior at Croton High School, Katia DePass.
Hi everyone, my name is Katia DePass. That's my full name. Okay, my full name. But yeah. So today, more of a letter to you all today. So if there's been a silver lining to the pandemic, perhaps it's been the growing awareness of how systematic issues affect us all. Police violence, lack of health care, income inequality, climate change, and more. And the effect is this. We stratified our society into increasingly unequal classes. We see wealthy white people continue to emit more carbon dioxide and harmful matter than the poor, and people of color, and in turn, suffer less of the consequences of these actions. They also have far more resources to deal with whatever problems arise from climate change. Meanwhile, people of color who have contributed less to this problem are set to bear most of its burden and have relatively few resources to use. The neighborhoods people of color have been redlined into are more likely to be prone to flooding and less likely to have adequate storm drainage systems. Their homes are less likely to have well-functioning insulation, heating and air conditioning, and are expected to bear the brunt of the incoming damages and are equipped with fewer resources to deal with them. So to my white allies, neighbors, friends, and teachers, the environmental movement needs to reckon with these disparities. We need to support anti-racist policies like the Clean Air Act led by the National Resources Defense Council, the Equitable and Just National Climate Platform that works with organizations that will commit to working to ensure that all people and communities have the right to breathe clean air, live free of dangerous levels of toxic pollution, access to healthy food, and share the benefits of a prosperous and vibrant clean economy. In the fight for a cleaner future, we can't claim to believe Black Lives Matter if we don't understand the ways the system disproportionately oppresses people of color. We need to do our part to change that system. We need to make sure that we do it in a way that acknowledges the disadvantages faced by people of color due to the compounding effects of centuries of systematic racism. We need to bring diverse perspectives to the table. We need to reckon with our pervasive racism and its incredibly long history. And climate change will hit people of color especially hard. We've seen it happen in Louisiana. We've seen it happen to coastal Native American tribes. We've seen it happen in Flint, Michigan. And we need to break these systematic barriers, and doing your part to build a better future means paying attention to them as well. It's time to expand the conversation around climate justice to ensure that all people, regardless of race and ethnicity, are guaranteed protections from the worst effects of climate change. Thank you.
Rock on, Claudia. Amazing. We're going to have a song from some of our kids. It's going to be Maddie Nikich, her two friends Olivia Sendolitsky, and Gwen Labatt.
Sorry, Lisa. Not behind you. My bad. Yeah. As loud as we can because we only have one microphone. So bear with us. Yeah, go ahead. You can all. Paradise, put up a parking lot. And their paint grows out. And a swinging hot spot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Took all the trees, put them in a tree museum. And they charged the people $1.50 just to see them. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Hey, farmer, farmer, put it in a DDT now. Give me spots on my apples, leave me the birds and the bees. Please, don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Late last night, heard the screen door slam, and a big yellow taxi took away my old man. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Pay paradise, put up a parking lot. Pay paradise, put up a parking lot.
That was amazing, girls. Thanks so much. Right up my alley. My next speaker is going to be Megan Dyer. She's a somewhat new resident of Croton, but she came up here and she got right involved in what's meaningful to her. And she started a chapter of Mothers Out Front, and she has been an unending driving force in getting some of these young and old mothers alike and all family members together in doing some local and outreach to our politicians nearby. So here she is. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for organizing this. Thanks for everybody coming out, for mobilizing, and for believing in our future. That's what we need. We need all the energy towards our future right now. My name is Megan Dyer. I'm a working mother of two, and I'm here to tell you some good news. We have a climate law everyone in New York State can be excited about, and a bill that all of us will want to help pass. all of us will want to help pass this. The Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act, CLCPA, is a law that was passed in 2019. Climate activists, constituents like us, and lawmakers all joined together to make this happen. Here are some of the guidelines that the CLCPA sets for New York State. Again, this is a law. 85% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2050. 100% zero emissions electricity by 2040. 70% renewable energy by 2030. Offshore wind, solar, and energy storage deadlines, and 22 million tons of carbon reduction through energy efficiency and electrification. The CLCPA started as a bill and was brought to the table by climate activists like all of us. It was passed into law by our elected officials on July 18th, 2019. And now we have an equally inspiring bill that we are urging forward. The Climate and Community Investment Act, CCIA, that we're working on here locally. When this bill becomes a law, hopefully this January, corporate polluters will pay their fair share, providing $15 billion per year directly to frontline communities, creating good jobs in renewable energy fields, which will help build renewable economy here in New York. Climate laws like these result from collaboration between climate groups, volunteers like us, and lawmakers, some of whom we have identified as climate heroes. I want to share with you what it looks like when volunteers like us make a difference. In 2015, massive docks were scheduled to be built along the Hudson River so that oil barges could transport gas and oil from Canada to New Jersey. There was a fear that oil barges could capsize, and the first day out, one of them actually did capsize. So Mothers Out Front allied up with the Coast Guard and were able to halt this project. That was the first project I worked on. It required about 4 hours of my life and was worth every minute. Not having a huge dock station here on our beautiful riverbanks, or looking out at huge oil barges coming up the river, wondering if one of them would capsize with oil rushing up the Croton River where our kids swim. Knowing it's nearly impossible to clean up an oil spill up an estuary. Still, River Lake here in Croton would have been closed forever. Soon after this victory, Mothers Out Front office from Albany called our chapter to say that a bill was about to be introduced that would end wind energy production in New York State. 4 of us got together and studied the proposed bill and then met with Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff to tell her about the bill. This anti-wind energy bill had not even been introduced yet, but Assemblywoman Galiff listened to us, got on the phone, and spread the word. This bill was defeated before it even made it to the Assembly floor. And right now, massive wind energy is being scheduled for New York State off of Long Island. This is the power of community volunteers, and that's because we are not special interest. These examples require a few people like us to be present and to make small efforts. Because small efforts by average people do add up. You don't have to be a public speaker. You don't have to know much about science. You just have to show up. Mothers Out Front has also passed community choice aggregation, allowing for clean energy or clean electricity here in Croton. We also helped get a group discount for about 40 families here in Croton to get solar panels. And almost 3 years ago, we joined the National Mothers Out Front teams to begin an electric school bus campaign. We want to thank all of the members of the Board of Education, Sarah Carrier and Andrea Fury especially, our superintendent, Dr. O'Connell, our partners, Croton 100 and Care for Creation, for joining our campaign to make it happen here in Croton-on-Hudson. Thanks also to all the voters. Imagine Croton in 50 years if still only a few of us are fighting this climate crisis. And imagine Croton in 50 years if everyone here commits to joining this effort. We need new voices to help pass the CCIA this January. We need new volunteers to help get the $59 million of funding that Governor Hochul just put forward towards a Clean Green Schools initiative. And we need volunteers to help Ossining and Hen Hud schools get the same cost-saving, clean air school buses that our children will have here in Croton. Importantly, we need volunteers to help make sure that the Public Service Commission holds all of our gas providers accountable to the CLCPA climate law. That is big. At the Mothers Out Front table back here, we have a full list of volunteer jobs that need to be filled to speed up this whole process. Everyone is welcome. You don't have to be a mother, you don't have to be a father, you just need to care and you just need to show up. And on that note, I would like to introduce someone who has been a real climate champion and a real inspiration to me. Not only did she work to pass the CLCPA, she is a strident champion for the CCIA and has recently co-sponsored Bill A6754 that allows for state reimbursement for school districts to purchase or lease electric school buses. Please welcome our very own climate shiro, New York State Assemblywoman Sandy Galiff.
Quite an introduction. Sometimes I just have to tell you that each one of you have such an impact on us as your elected representatives, whether we're on a federal level, state level, or local level. Sometimes it's really hard on a federal level, but you know, we're there and we're there to listen, and hopefully we will be there to respond to the needs, you know, that we are all going through in this world. And a lot has been said. I have I have some thoughts, but you know, I may reiterate some of them. And we don't have to remind ourselves that there is a climate emergency, because we saw in the city and in southern Westchester, we were very fortunate with Hurricane Ida that we weren't impacted the way they were in other places a little bit further south. But that certainly is one thing that's happened. We have the smoke that kind of drifts in our direction. You know, we look out, we say, what happened to the sun? Why is it so cloudy? I remember days, you know, waking up and saying, what's happening? And then I realized, you know, after I listened to the news, of course, it's coming all the way from the California fires. I mean, we seem so far away, but we're really not so far away. And of course, with all of the, I don't like humidity and I don't like heat, I'm sorry. I don't know where I'm going to move to. Where are we going to move? Canada, whatever. But you know, this summer, there was an awful lot of air conditioning that kind of grabbed me. I don't know about you. I guess if you're swimming in a pool, that sounds great, but it's hard with our change. And so we're gathered here to say that we need to make the change, but the change isn't probably so easy. There are a lot of people that are resistant. As we've heard, there are bills that come forward that you wonder why they're being presented in this day and age with this climate change issue, but they're out there and it is a constant fight. So we all have to remind people to reimagine what the state of New York needs to do in the future. And the youth here, and I think I was here, was it 2 years ago we had this rally? Yes, I mean, I was so impressed with the young people, and I loved your speech. It was really great. I loved all your speeches. I love your letter. And I love the music and the songs. I mean, this is you know, we need to do this, you need to do it for you, we need to do it for you. I have grandchildren, I want to be sure that they have a wonderful environment to live in. And, you know, there's been a lot of discussion about our Climate Leadership and Community Protection Act that we did in 2019. And we obviously want to get to 100% full electricity with clean energy sources. And I just want to tell you, in Croton-on-Hudson has been such a lead in Westchester, around our state, and around the world. I sometimes go on your Saturday morning, what do you call them? Adventures. Whatever, pulling people together from around the world to talk about energy. And of course they, you know, you have to do it at a time when they maybe are awake and so on. I mean, it just is incredible what you've been able to do. This year I was able to get a small piece of legislation done, but I think important because we're going to keep working at different things. It was to make sure that homeowners associations allow people to put solar on their roof. Now, you know, we've had instances. I remember this bill that I introduced, I think it was 12 years ago, 17 years ago. I don't know. Sometimes bills take forever to get done. But it passed this year, and it came to me from a vendor that was selling solar, and he was from Croton. Came to my office, talked about the problems that these homeowners associations were saying, I don't want a solar panel on the roof. So, you know, we've given them some outs if it's a community, you know, roof within within their complex. But we're trying to, you know, motivate people to be able to get solar. And just, I think it was about a week and a half ago, Claire Wexton's here from my office. We were up at Maryknoll Seminary in Ossining, where they have put wonderful solar panels over several of their parking lots. You have to go by and see it. It is absolutely wonderful. And I know you're working on doing that here in Croton, I believe at the railroad station. We actually, Senator Harcum and I had a bill this year which I couldn't get out of the Environmental Committee. He was able to pass it. This is what happens, and we'll keep the discussion going. But it would have allowed a community like Croton, you have some designated parkland at the waterfront, and that you could put a solar unit across that parking lot. First of all, it's really good for parking purposes. When it snows, your car isn't loaded with snow when you go out from work. Also, in the heat, it kind of protects you from your car maybe being 100 inside to maybe being 80 inside. I don't know. Anyway, so, and somebody had mentioned, so each one of these projects, and there are other businesses in our communities that have really done a great job. I know there was one I visited years ago up in Cortland. There's another one in Briarcliff, and they're all saving money, and they put solar panels in, and you know, they've actually been able to, with the savings that they have through their panels, to be able to hire more workers. So all that is good. I just want to remind all of you, on Election Day, it was mentioned, I think you mentioned before, you know, we have this constitutional amendment to provide quality of air and water and a healthful environment to all New Yorkers. It's so important that we get it passed, and most people don't even know that it's going to be on the ballot. Some people are getting their mail-in ballots now, and they're recognizing that it's happened. There are 3 other propositions on it too, and hopefully you'll give them your consideration. So I'm also wanting to invite you. I'm going to have a town meeting. Those who live in my district are going to get a newsletter soon. But on Wednesday, October 27th, we're going to have a Zoom event on the whole issue of climate emergency. We have a representative from the New York State Independent System Operators who can tell us about the lay of the land of our energy usage all in the state. And we're going to have somebody from environmental advocates talking about the legislation that's really important in Albany, and then we're going to have somebody from Croton-on-Hudson to talk about how it applies locally. So we're really looking forward to that. I hope you will join in. You'll get my newsletter later, or just call my office and we'll send you the link. So thank you all very much. I know I went over time. I apologize.
It happens to the best of us. Thank you for being here, Sandy. It means a lot. Our next speakers are going to be Ilo Dyer-Ramberg and Christy Fuller, both 6th graders from PVC, the youngest speakers yet. So let's give them a big round of applause and make them feel comfortable.
Renewable energy is the best way out of a climate crisis because it is as simple as switching everything to electric. The best thing that we as civilians can do is get an electric car and solar panels. Many of the newer EV models come at lower prices than gas cars, and solar panels can end up saving you money too. Both of these things can save money and help the environment.
But wind energy is the best form of renewable energy yet. The company Wind Catching System, a Norwegian company focused on wind energy, made an innovation in wind turbine technology. 80% of wind is in the middle of the ocean, where it is too deep to put a conventional turbines that have to be embedded into the seafloor. So this company is developing a floating multi-turbine windmill with over 100 small blades, which create 5 times more energy and can catch 80% of the wind out in the middle of the ocean.
We want to see our government helping to fund the windmill industry here in New York State.
Thank you, guys. That was a lot of information for 2 kids from middle school, so I want to give them a big round of applause. That was amazing, guys. Thank you. Our next speaker is also a sort of new resident to Croton. His name is Eric Lewandowski. Of course, I lost the little explanation of his curriculum vitae, but he's going to do his best. He's also a gem to have here, and you might have been hearing him perhaps on the news, and his studies have been referenced in the last week in the New York Times. It was on the Colbert Report last night, and the United Nations.
Thanks. How does this say? Everyone can hear me all right? I'll go a little higher. Okay, how's that? Okay, so actually might have to refer to my own notes for my own introduction, but Eric Lewandowski, I'm a Croton resident since 2019, and my oldest daughter has just started at CET in the last couple of weeks. And I'm a clinical psychologist, a child psychologist by training, and actually just this year have left a job where I was for 10 years at NYU Medical Center, at the Child Study Center, so that I have more time and more freedom to give to the climate movement. So that's my story of why I'm here. Lisa asked me to say a few words as a child psychologist about young people and climate anxiety, and based on my involvement in a big study, that's been in the news for the last 2 weeks, about how young people around the world feel about climate change and the response of their governments. So this was an unprecedented study, the largest ever of its kind. It included 10,000 young people aged 16 to 25 from countries as diverse as the US, India, Portugal, Nigeria, Finland, Australia, Brazil, and the Philippines, and others. And here's the spoiler. The young people here already know what I'm going to say because this is their voice. 60% of young people we surveyed around the world said that they are very or extremely worried about climate change. 85% said they are at least moderately worried. Only 5% weren't worried at all. You already know this. You wouldn't be here if it wasn't true. 75% said they were frightened by the future, and almost 60% said they were angry. Almost half said their feelings about climate change were bad enough that they were impacting their ability to eat, sleep, focus on school or work, and enjoy free time and time with friends. Half felt their concern about climate change had been dismissed when they tried to talk about them. Young people said they felt betrayed by governments. Almost 70% feel that governments are failing them. Only 30% believe that governments are doing enough to protect them. You know this too because you've watched your own government do too little for too long. People often feel alone with their feelings about climate change. They're big and scary and people don't like to talk about them. But we should, and we must. Young people, all people, feel these things not because they're crazy or weak or mentally ill. We feel them because we know we're in a crisis and not enough is being done about it. I hope that if you feel alone, it helps to hear these voices of young people from around the world speaking in unison. There are signs that the world is paying attention. Just this week, on Tuesday, in his speech to the United Nations General Assembly in New York City, Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the same guy who called it Code Red for Humanity, referred to this very study, to your voices. He read to a room full of world leaders, including President Biden, some of the results I've just read to you, and said, we must show children and young people that despite the gravity of the situation, the world has a plan and the governments are committed to its implementation. That is power. Your voices are powerful. By the way, so it was mentioned by Stephen Colbert in his monologue on Wednesday night, and it's now had 1 million+ views on YouTube, and that's power as well. Shoshana said a moment ago that she's tired of feeling scared about climate change, tired of grief, tired of disillusionment, and I agree, I'm ready for something else, for some hope. Greta Thunberg, who started Fridays for Future, was once asked about where she finds hope, and she said, once we start to act, hope is everywhere. Instead of looking for hope, look for action. Then, and only then, hope will come. So let's not be ashamed to be afraid. Let's not be scared to grieve. Let's not ignore or push away our feelings about this crisis anymore, but welcome them, listen to them, talk about them. Let them bring us together. This community, its young people and its old, its children and its parents, its businesses and its elected leaders. These feelings give us strength. Let them be the fuel that drives us all to action together. Let's talk about action. We've all had the feeling that our own actions don't matter when the challenge is so enormous. I'm just one person, what can I do? For most of us in the United States, the biggest economy in the world, the biggest carbon emitter in history, a place where so many of us consume way more than the global norm, and way more than the planet can sustain, changes in our behavior, our choices, our purchases, our diet, have an impact. In Greta's words again, I know we need a system change rather than individual change, but we cannot have one without the other. Even more than the direct impact of our own changes, each time we use our voices, especially the young voices, each change we make, each responsibility we accept, we signal to everyone around us that taking care of the planet matters to us, and we raise this spirit in others who thought they were alone and didn't know what to do. With our voices, our effort, and our example, just one person to just one person, we are building what Senator Ed Markey, one of the authors of the Green New Deal, calls an army that can change the norms of our community, that can change the norms of our country. That too is power. Looking at the faces in this crowd, I see the energy, the knowledge, and the resources we need to make the positive changes in our community and to make our voices heard by politicians and business leaders in our district, our state, and our country. Let's embrace the opportunity in every aspect of our lives to be the agents of this change and the creators of this hope. To our elected leaders here today, we're grateful for your presence and for your marks and for your efforts. We look forward to continuing to hear, above all, the full-throated embrace of the voice of this community and a commitment to press harder for policies that at long last meet the scale of the climate crisis and all its impacts, and a commitment to partner with us in making these changes right here and now. We want it, we need it, and we will continue to demand it. Thank you.
Thank you, Eric. Can I find Fred? Is he around? Our singer? Where is he? Oh, here he is. We're going to break it up for a minute and hear some nice music.
I swear I tuned up beforehand. You can see hope. Just look to your left. There it is. Right there. We're going to sing this song really out of tune. Don't you know it's darkest before the dawn? And it's this thought that keeps me moving on. If we could heed these early warnings, the time is now, quite early morning. If we could heed these early warnings, these early warnings. The time is now, the time is now, quite early morning. Some say that humankind won't long endure, and I say what makes them so doggone sure. I know that you who hear my singing can make those freedom bells go ringing. I know that you hear my singing, who hear my singing can make those freedom bells go ringing, bells go ringing. And so we'll keep on while we live, until we have no more to give. And when these fingers can strum no longer, and the old guitar to the young ones stronger. When these fingers can strum no longer, can strum no longer, and the old guitar to young ones stronger, to young ones stronger. And though it's darkest before the dawn, it is this thought that keeps me moving on through all this world of joy and sorrow. We still can have singing tomorrow through all this world of joy and sorrow, of joy and sorrow. We still can have singing tomorrow, singing tomorrow.
Thank you, Fred. And talk about people going above and beyond. Fred drove down here an hour and a half from his new home in Athens. So thank you so much. He's been here for a long time. He has real deep roots in the Hudson Valley, and he's been a staple with a lot of us for a long time. So thank you so much, Fred. I'm going to introduce Len Simon, who is a board member in Croton, newly elected, also sort of a new resident to Croton. I remember when he moved in, I chatted him up at the Blue Pig and the Black Cow, and he got right into this community and got involved and got elected. So I remind people of, again, not even just your right to vote, but your place in being in one of power and getting out there and being a member and elected official for something, whether that be in the school or right here in your community. Thank you, Len.
Thank you, Lisa. Thanks very much. This is so amazing. This is how change happens. Give yourselves a hand, please. And I can say there's no place I feel more at home, not only because we're frequent customers at the Blue Pig, but also because a long time ago I did exactly what you're doing. The issue was the Vietnam War. I was in high school. We led our class out. Thousands of high schools did the same thing. It was actually one specific week where we found out that the Nixon administration had been secretly bombing Laos and Cambodia. And I think we had an impact, and I think we changed things for the better. And I know you're going to do the same thing. And I thank you for not only yourselves making the better world that you're going to make, but I thank you for my own 3 kids, our 2-year-old granddaughter, and our entire family. So thank you for that. I just want to talk just a little bit about what happens at the local government. Now, we're sort of where the rubber meets the road. We're the assembly floor for where it all happens. But we need your good ideas, and we need your involvement, whether it's going to be in committees or just giving us good ideas. I think we're doing something good in Croton. I think we have the capacity of what they call punching above our weight. We're not a big place, but I think our reputation is going to be big when people really understand not only the projects that we're working on now, and government is all about projects and policies, but also the ones that you're going to bring us in the future. Just a couple of things. Our Department of Public Works has a solar roof. I challenge you to find any other Department of Public Works in this region that has a solar roof. Our firehouse on Riverside, what we call the Washington Engine Company, is going to have a solar roof. We're very excited about that. A fire company with a solar roof. Now, what we've been working on, and I won't go into all the details because it's all about details, but whether it's our zoning board, our planning board, our water control commission, our board of trustees, we've all been working on one singular goal over the last 6 or 9 months, and that is to take our train station and make 90% of it a solar canopy, and it's going to happen. Just to visualize it, of course, right around the station itself, the building, we can't have solar there because people need to walk around, and towards where we have the salt shack where we keep our winter salt, that won't have it. The entire rest of the station will have solar canopies. They're going to be absolutely beautiful. Sandy mentioned them. You're going to be able to not only generate solar energy to help save our planet, but you're going to generate a lot of dollars to save our village. So we're very excited about that. I can promise you this. We will not build another housing development, another garage, or another parking lot in Croton unless it has EV chargers. That's so important. And as I said, one of the great mayors that I used to work for said, "How do you make a great city? One day at a time and good people." So we're trying to do this one day at a time with good people. So we started off, if you go down to our municipal building for about a year and a half, we've had 2 EV chargers and they get used regularly. We have 2 EV chargers already at the train station, but we're building housing at 25 South Riverside, and we required the developer to have multiple EV chargers there. The Katz property at Maple and Municipal is going to be a great project, about 80% affordable, by the way, and that's going to have EV chargers as well. And let me talk just for a second about affordable housing. That's a great way to save energy, and it's a great way to build a community. And I know that particularly those of you that are seniors, you're going someplace. You're going to go to colleges or the military or someplace. We hope wherever you go, wherever your journey takes you, that you're coming back to Croton eventually. And we want to make sure, that's one of my personal highest priority, is to make sure that there's affordable housing for you to come back to. Affordable housing, if your parents who happen to be homeowners want to downsize and stay in Croton, we need to create those options. It's not only energy efficient, it's not only consistent with the Green New Deal, it's important for our future, and it's the right thing to do. So, and by the way, speaking of the right thing to do is we have to, in the village, we have to put our money where our mouth is, and President Biden is very often will say, he's known for saying this, that if you want to know what your policy is, show me your budget. Well, I'd be happy to show you the Croton budget, because we have to go through it line by line. And in a city this small, we're really talking at the 3-digit level. So we get really into the nitty-gritty. But I can tell you that every vehicle that we are going to buy in the future, if it is physically available and competitive even in any way to conventional fuel, we're going to buy an electric vehicle. We're doing this. We're doing this with our fleet right now. If we can't get the right matchup, we're definitely getting hybrid. We have a lot of trucks here in Croton, and we're waiting. We're very, very close to a standard pickup truck being very competitive for electric. So we're doing that as well. So we need you to be with us on the journey that we're on. I can tell you, we're dealing with a lot of wonderful projects in the village, and I can speak for myself and my colleagues and say, we didn't come up with any of these ideas. You did. Other people in the community did. People that are working with us on advisory committees, or ideas that we've stolen from other communities. A great mayor friend that I had said, there's no such thing as a new idea. There's just good ideas that somebody else is doing that you've stolen. So if you see any of those, let us know. So we've got a lot of stuff going on. I think that we're really at the beginning stage. We've got a long way to go. We really need your involvement. I like to quote President Kennedy whenever I can. He said, one man, we'll change it to one man and one woman can make a difference. Everyone should try. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Len. We're getting towards the end now of our program. I just want to kind of remind everyone that everyone that spoke of the wonderful things going on, I'm not calling out Len or Sandy. I'm going back to what Shandu said. Whatever we're doing, we have to do more. Okay? I want to thank everyone for coming out. You can thank me for the nice day. I put it in, and it came in spades. So I also think it's amazing what a small group of people can do. In about 2 to 3 weeks, we threw this together. So as we said before, a small group of motivated people can get some stuff done. Typically, those of you that know me, I usually end the event with some motivating talk. And I have to be honest that this was a hard one to think about. For someone that has been doing this for 30 years and been in front of hundreds of people and been really go-hung and hopeful for a long time, I struggled with today because the science and what Shandu was talking about is so much. And to give people false hope seems naive. And then as Shoshana spoke so clearly about the opposite of that is being fearful. And she was so clear in saying, what does that lead to? It leads to despair and apathy, and we just want to pull up the covers. So where is the road? So I did a ton of reading, and I came across a journalist who has spent her lifetime covering the environment. And in the last IPCC report that Shandu quoted, it's been all in the papers, every magazine, in New York Times, front and center. And she said, it's about determination. And that resonated with me. Because all of us have had a time when you had a struggle and you were determined to get it done. It wasn't naive and it wasn't depressing. You just had to put your pedal to the metal. And it makes me think of these kids here where the teachers, maybe there's a big test or you're on a sports team, and those teachers and their parents say to you, anything that's worth having is worth working for. And I challenge all of you to look around today. And I always get choked up. Andrew will really tell you that it's true. I cry every time I'm on the mic. That I look around, and if you look around, these beautiful kids are worth working for. And really, all of us. I have some of my best friends here, Andrew taking pictures, Ketty staying up till 9 o'clock making these signs at her little art studio up the road. And I could go on and on. We are all blessed to be right here in this community with all that we have, as Katia said. I think that it's worth working for, and I hope you join me. So that being said, how to take action, a lot of people mentioned what it was. The first thing is personal action. To get to those numbers that the IPCC has so clearly stated, you have to start, each and every one of us, even those people that, like me, who feel like I'm doing a lot. It can't be enough, or the numbers wouldn't be what they are. Nobody gets out of this without working. And just a reminder that this is not an action. This is a nice event. And it's going to be even nicer when Fred comes and sings his next song. He'll blow you away. This is just an event. The action is reducing carbon. And that's what we have to keep in mind. And Chandu didn't mention it, but one of his key phrases that I carry with me every day is carbon deserves the seat at the table. Every decision your family is making about travel and vacations and renovations and cars and things that you're purchasing at the store, whatever it is from this day forward, we are not going to get to those numbers unless carbon has a seat at the table at those decisions. So besides personal actions, again, you need to know where you're at. All of us probably know about how much money we have in the bank. I could see maybe you nod your head. You kind of know how much money you have. You kind of know how much you might weigh. You kind of know what food is in the refrigerator. But do you know where you and your family stand with your carbon footprint? And if you can't shake your head on that, that needs to be found out, because you can't get to where you're going if you don't even know where you are. So please, Croton-on-Hudson has an app where you can find your carbon footprint. There are other apps on the web if you're not a computer person. There are things you can read and questionnaires, and you need to take it as seriously as any other health issue that's there for you and your family and yourself. Find out where you're at, and there are things you can do tomorrow. If you want to get involved, again, the tables are here for mothers out front, Croton-on-Hudson, our town boards, and the kids. You're all in school. I implore you to go to your school boards, to go to your teachers and the administration, and follow up and ask them, where are they at with some of your issues? And don't take no for an answer. Those days are gone. So I'm going to end now with Fred. I'm going to thank you again and enjoy this beautiful day. It's been a rare occurrence this summer.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Andrew. I paid him to say that.
Yeah, let's give it up for Lisa again, please. Whenever women do the leading, it seems like things come out much better, in my experience. No pissing matches. They asked me specifically to sing this song, which is Lisa's favorite. It was written by a great transplanted New Yorker whose father was a corrupt politician, a member of the Ku Klux Klan. And he evolved out of that upbringing and changed, you know. Desegregated his ship in the Merchant Marines and all kinds of crazy stuff. I can relate to that. I grew up in Verplank and I had to unlearn a lot of things, you know, and I'm still unlearning. A lot of these kids over here, they don't have any of that crap to unlearn. They right from the get-go, they got it. They learned it right. So, parents, give yourselves a hand for that. But anyhow, I'm going to sing a verse I made up myself, and I'm going to sing a verse that Pete Seeger added to the song as well. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. You can sing if you want. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the sign it said, no trespassing. And on the other side, it didn't say nothing. That side was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. I made up this verse here. This land is your home, but once was my home. You believe Earth is something you can own. You forced our nations on reservations. This land was stolen from me. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. Pete Seeger taught me this verse at the Spirit of Beacon Day, the September before he died. And it's a special verse just for New York. It goes like this. New York is your home, New York is my home, from the upstate mountains down to the ocean's foam. With all kinds of people, we're all polychrome. New York was made to stay frack free. New York was made to stay frack free. New York was made to stay frack free. It doesn't just mean fracking, it means all the rest of the stuff. This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. New York was made to be frack free. Nobody living, nobody live can ever stop me, can't ever stop. As I go walking, as I go walking, freedom's highway, freedom's high. Nobody living, nobody living. Make me turn back, make me turn back. This land was made for you and me. I'm gonna sing one more verse that I forgot. This one's pretty important. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people at the relief office. I saw my people as they stood there hungry. I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the redwood forest to the stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me. New York, New York was made to be frack free.
Give him hell, you guys. Give him hell. Croton kids.
In our closing, Shoshana wanted to come up and just say a little announcement again. And again, thank you to everybody. And remember that it really doesn't end here. This was the nice part, and we have work to do.
I just wanted to give a reminder of all the action items we talked about. I want everybody to go home and call Senator Sinema, Senator Manchin. You might think they might not listen to us because we're not the constituents, but if we fill their mailbox up, they gotta listen to us. And second, everybody needs to spread the word about Proposition 2 on the New York ballot, the one that we were talking about that gives the constitutional right in New York State for a clean environment. And download Climate Action Now, that will give you actions every single day to lobby our government. And if you have any questions, I'm also part of Dayenu, a Jewish call to climate action. So if anybody's interested to that, see me. Thank you.
That's the end of our program, guys. Thank you so much. Woo!